As football fans, we all dream about dominance. We want our club to win everything, every season, every trophy. Trust me, I am an Orlando Pirates fan. I am a Manchester United and Barcelona fan, so I know what it feels like when your club sits on top of football. But I also know something else now. Dominance changes football. Because when one club keeps winning over and over again, eventually the league starts losing tension. Hope disappears, and honestly, that's something I only fully understood after watching two of my clubs fall away from the top. Manchester United stopped ruling England, Pirates stopped ruling South Africa, and suddenly, I understood what football feels like from the other side. The frustration, the jealousy, the desperation to believe again. That's why this season feels so emotional to me, because across football, sleeping giants are waking up again. Not just my clubs, everybody's clubs. AGF in Denmark, Club Africain in Tunisia, Arsenal in England, Hearts in Scotland, Pirates in South Africa, even challengers rising in Egypt. And whether they fully complete the job or not, they're bringing something back to football that the modern game desperately needs. Belief. What's up, my people? I am the Ball Boy and I'm back with another one. And today, we need to talk about the possible end of tyrant football. Now, before people misunderstand me, tyrant football is not about hating successful clubs, because greatness matters, dynasties matter. Some of the greatest football stories ever were built by dominant teams. Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, Bayern Munich in Germany, Ahly in Africa, Mamelodi Sundowns under Pitso Mosimane, Manchester City right now. Great teams push football forward, but sometimes dominance becomes so overwhelming that the league stops feeling competitive. Fans start every season already knowing the ending, and that's dangerous, because football is supposed to feel uncertain. You're supposed to believe your club has a chance. There's a reason many casual fans stop paying attention to leagues like France or Germany despite the quality being high. Because when one team dominates too long, people stop believing anything can change. But this season, for once, clubs that spent years suffering are fighting back. So let's start in Denmark. The Danish Superliga has mainly been dominated by FC Copenhagen, with FC Midtjylland becoming the main club capable of interrupting the reign. Between them, those two clubs won 9 of the last 10 league titles. And finally, this season gave Denmark a new champion. This might be the purest football story of them all. Aarhus Gymnastikforening, or simply AGF, are not some random underdog story. This is a historic football institution, one of Denmark's traditional giants, a massive club, a huge fan base. The last time AGF won the league was over 40 years ago. Back in the 1950s, they even won 3 consecutive league titles. They had everything: league titles, cup trophies, European nights, but then football changed. They even got relegated twice. Modern Danish football slowly became controlled by new powers. FC Copenhagen became the machine. Midtjylland became the data-driven powerhouse. Money changed, structures changed, modern football evolved. And AGF, they became a sleeping giant. Years after years, disappointment. Season after season, watching other clubs celebrate for over 40 years. Imagine supporting your club your whole life that once was a powerhouse, but you never saw them winning a league. Some fans literally grew old waiting for this moment. Just a decade ago, in the 2013-14 season, AGF were relegated again. But after returning to the Superliga, they slowly rebuilt themselves. At first, they struggled near relegation places. Then in 2019-20, they finally reached the championship rounds. Since then, they consistently remained among Denmark's top clubs. You could actually see the progress. And this season, something changed. The belief returned, the stadium became alive again. After staying consistent throughout the campaign, They only needed one final statement against Brøndby. And they delivered. A convincing 2-0 win. 40 years of pain finally erased. And now, Champions League football could be next. That's why football matters. Because stories like these remind us that history can still come back alive. Now let's go to Tunisia, because fewer clubs in Africa are bigger emotionally than Club Africain. This is one of the continent's historic football institutions, with a massive fan base, a massive history, and massive expectations. They are the second most decorated club in Tunisia behind Esperance. But for years, while Esperance kept dominating, Club Africain slowly lost their place at the top. With financial problems, administrative chaos, and instability. The last league title came back in 2014-15, and since then, Esperance kept winning title after title, 8 more times, only interrupted by ESS. Eventually, supporters stopped asking themselves, can we win the league? And started asking, can we even recover? But this season, everything changed. The energy returned, the belief returned. Club Africain weren't just competing, they were champions again. A huge victory over the defending champions pushed them 5 points clear at the top and finally secured the title. And for the first time in years, there are Club Africain football fans celebrating who genuinely thought they might never see this day again. And honestly, that's the beauty of football. The comeback always means more than the domination. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting for me personally. Because I am a Manchester United fan and talking about Arsenal. Trust me, it does feel weird. But whether you like Arsenal or not, their story does matter. A whole generation of Arsenal fans grew up getting mocked, memed, embarrassed, and over the past 3 seasons, labeled bottlers. The last time Arsenal won the league was nearly 23 years ago, during the Invisibles era. One day they were on top of the football world, and suddenly they were begging for a rebuild. But slowly something changed. Watching Arsenal rise again reminded me of something important. Historic clubs should matter. The Premier League feels more alive when clubs with huge fan bases and real history are genuinely competing again. Now that doesn't mean I suddenly want Arsenal winning leagues, but I understand why it matters emotionally.
And after years of getting close, they finally did it. Premier League champions. I understand why this title means so much emotionally, because this wasn't just a league win. This was release of years of frustration, years of banter, years of almost moments. Finally gone.
Now let's head to Scotland, where football has basically been controlled by 2 clubs for generations. Celtic F.C. and Rangers F.C. The Old Firm. One of football's greatest rivalries and one of the most dominant duopolies in world football. The last club outside the Old Firm to win the league was Aberdeen, back in 1984. That's over 4 decades ago, and honestly, for most Scottish fans outside Glasgow, the league can feel impossible. Because no matter how good your season is, eventually reality hits. The money gap, the squad depth, the pressure, the history, everything always pulls back towards Celtic or Rangers. Which is why what Heart of Midlothian F.C. were doing felt so special, because this wasn't just about points on the table. This was about possibility. And heading into the biggest match of the season, Hearts had a chance to shock Scottish football against defending champions Celtic. And this is where tyrant football reminds you how brutal it can be. Because when pressure rises, the Giants usually respond. And Celtic did exactly that. A painful 3-1 defeat ended Hearts' dream of completing one of the greatest title stories in modern Scottish football. And honestly, that's what makes football so cruel sometimes. You can dream, you can believe, you can fight, and still fall short. But even then, Hearts still did something important this season. They made people believe again. Neutral fans started paying attention, supporters started dreaming bigger. For moments, the impossible actually felt possible. And maybe that's the real point here. Not every sleeping giant completes their comeback, but the moment fans start believing again, football becomes alive again. Now, South Africa. Because if there's one modern football dynasty in Africa that perfectly represents Tyrant football, it's Mamelodi Sundowns. For years now, they've been unstoppable. 9 league titles in the last 10 seasons. The depth, the money, the structure, the consistency. Every season started feeling the same. Sundowns at the top, everybody else chasing shadows. And listen, you have to respect greatness, because what Sundowns built is incredible. But eventually, even greatness creates exhaustion. Fans start craving competition again. And for the last 3 seasons, Orlando Pirates have basically been the Arsenal to Sundowns Manchester City. Always close, always improving, but never quite enough. Which honestly makes it ironic that in both England and South Africa, the tables suddenly feel like they're turning. And that's why this season feels different. Because Pirates are genuinely pushing back. Not just emotionally, not just historically, actually pushing. Winning games, applying pressure, making people nervous. And suddenly, the Betway Premiership feels alive again. Because South African football is different when Pirates and even Kaizer Chiefs are truly competing for the league. The atmosphere changes, the noise changes, the energy changes. You can feel it. The country becomes emotionally invested again because Pirates are one of those clubs that move culture. And honestly, that's what Tyrant football forgets. Football isn't only about efficiency. It isn't only about domination. It's about emotion. The packed stadiums, the pressure, the fear of failure, the belief. And honestly, as a Pirates fan, I personally still fear failure. Because what if we don't pull it off even after Sundowns dropped points? Surely this has to be the year. Pirates are now only 3 points away from the title, while Sundowns already completed the campaign early to prepare for the Champions League final. Realistically, Pirates just need one more win. I actually went to Pirates' last league home game myself, expecting a massive moment, but instead faced with a tense 0-0 draw. And you could feel the emotions in the stadium. The frustration was there. You could see it on people's faces, because everyone knew what was at stake. But what surprised me, the hope never disappeared. Even after full time, the fans kept singing. The players stayed with the supporters. Nobody gave up on the dream. And honestly, the moment probably captured the entire point of the video better than anything else. Because real football support isn't only about celebrating trophies, it's about belief. Believing even when things get difficult. Believing when pressure hits. Believing when history is right there in front of you, but not fully yours yet. And now, it all comes down to one final game. Win, and Pirates complete one of the biggest league comebacks in recent South African football history. Slip up, and the ghosts return again. And that's why this feels bigger than football now. Because after so many years without the league title, Pirates fans can actually finally smell it. But football can be cruel, and maybe that's exactly why we love it so much. And finally, let's go to Egypt. Because if we're talking about Tyrant football, nobody represents dominance better than Al Ahly. This is not just a football club, this is an empire, the most successful club in African football history. Actually, the most decorated club in the whole world. Champions League, league titles, generations of dominance. At one point, Egyptian football almost felt predetermined. You played the season and eventually Al Ahly lifted the trophy. Again and again and again. That level of dominance creates greatness, but eventually it also creates fatigue. Because fans start asking themselves, can anybody actually challenge these guys? Historically, Zamalek were always the eternal rivals, but the gap became massive. 14 Zamalek titles to Ahly's 45. And now there's also Pirates F.C, a modern football project trying to disrupt a system historically controlled by current giants. That's what makes this season fascinating, because suddenly Ahly looks vulnerable. That's why this title race matters so much, because once dominance becomes routine, football loses tension. And the moment challengers start believing they can fight back, everything changes.
And somehow it came down to the final day, 3 clubs still fighting for the title, and for the first 30 minutes, Zamalek were leading, Pyramids were also leading, Ahly were leading. All the fans thought maybe this was our moment. And in the end, Zamalek held their nerve. One final victory, the crowd erupted, they were Egyptian champions again. And honestly, the biggest shock might not even be the title itself, because for the first time since 2003, Ahly failed to qualify for the CAF Champions League, as they finished 3rd behind Zamalek and Pyramids. Think about how insane that is. An entire generation grew up assuming Ahly would always be there, and now suddenly the empire looks vulnerable. That's why this title race mattered so much. Every great football league needs resistance, it needs rivals, it needs uncertainty. And maybe that's the biggest sign that tyrant football is finally weakening. Not because the giants became bad, but because everybody else finally started believing again.
Maybe that's the beautiful thing about football. Eventually, every giant suffers. Every empire weakens. Every fan base experiences pain. And maybe that pain is necessary, because it reminds us why winning matters in the first place. Watching clubs around the world rise again this season reminded me of something important. Hope is the heartbeat of football. Not domination. Hope. The belief that one day your club can rise again too. And maybe that's why this season feels special. I've been your boy, the ball boy, and I'll see you on the next one. Vamos.